Welcome to the Christian Athlete Podcast.
Thank
I'm
you.
your host, Julian Egbo, and I'm here with the one and only Yanni. Thank you for being on the show. University of Toledo women's basketball's finest right here.
Something like that.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. How was your day?
It's pretty good.
What did you do today?
Pretty good. Morning practice, morning weights.
How was that?
It was good.
It was good?
That's all I did today.
That
So,
was. You like the weights? Like the weight room?
I'm okay in the weight room.
You are?
I like it preseason. When it comes to during season, it's like,
body's like already tired.
Yeah.
From practice and all
Yeah.
that.
So,
Yeah.
but
Alrighty. I always like asking this as the first question. What was your welcome to college basketball moment?
welcome to college basketball. Mine was a little different, I guess. Is this supposed to be like, what kind of?
So it's kind of like when you got to college, like what was like the thing of like, oh, okay, this is college basketball.
Okay,
This
good.
High school
I'm just making sure it wasn't supposed to be like a good thing, like a happy moment.
Okay, no.
Okay. Well, I actually, so coming into college, I had just torn my Achilles.
Oh.
So like my entire freshman year, I redshirted.
Yeah.
So my coming to college moment was probably being a redshirt in like that first year as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
She had me like doing the clock. I didn't know how to do the clock. I had never worked on the clock at all. Like I'm normally just, on the court hooping.
Yeah.
And, coach, when she wants it a certain way, like get on it.
Yeah,
and so I was sitting there with like a manager and like one of our other coaches.
Yeah.
And something happened. They were just having a bad practice, and she turned to me and like started screaming about the points being wrong. And I was just I didn't even know how to like turn the clock or anything.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that was probably not what you expected, but that was probably my welcome to college moment.
You couldn't even say anything.
I was
just trying to click buttons like, oh shoot, what do I do here? All right, another question I like to ask is, when did you give your life to Christ?
So I was really fortunate to grow up with a Christian family.
Oh,
so like in the faith.
Yeah.
Of course that's very different than when you like actually decide to pursue it on your own.
Yeah.
But, like growing up, I was like, they would do the altar call. I would raise my hand like every week. Because like as a kid, you just don't really know. I'm just I don't know, I lied to my mom this week or something, you dedicate your life.
Yeah.
I don't think it was really until, and I mean like big believer in the faith, like very strong in my faith, always kind of like living out my faith all throughout high school and everything. But it really wasn't until that last year of high school when I tore my Achilles, and then coming to college where I was really like this is my faith. Like you're not living on like your parents' faith or anything like that. Like you put in the work, it's your faith. Like you're living off of that. So I would say around that time.
That's a good time though. I think people always like forget to realize, like, I think a lot of times when you grow up in it, it's almost like second nature to you. So it's like a lot of people always have these stories of them like, oh, when I hit this, then now I gave it, or like I just found God here. Whereas a lot of people that grew up in it, it's like it's a little different for us, but it's like it's always that point where you're like, okay, now I'm gonna take it a lot more serious. And you said yours was like your senior year of high school. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's almost like I feel like you don't realize how much you're living off of like your parents' faith. Or like growing up in like a faith-filled household, you don't realize like how much like you actually like how is your actual relationship with God, rather than just kind of like playing church or like
going to church,
going through the motions.
You're supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is that is interesting. So how was your upbringing? Cottleville or Cottleville? Cottleville, Missouri.
Yeah.
How was that?
Cottleville. That was pretty good. I'm a big family person. Like that's probably one of the most important things to me.
Yeah.
Very fortunate to have grown up in the family that I did with two older brothers. So I mean that made me a certain way. But other than that, I mean, my family has always been like big on going to church and things like that, which has been very nice for me growing up. Going to school, I don't know, it was kind of like I lived like a little split life because obviously I had basketball and I played AAU for like, my entire life almost. And so I went to like a predominantly white school, like a PWI in high school, which is very different from like my split life being an AAU team with like all black teammates, like nothing but black teammates. So it was kind of like, definitely. But I mean, it made me who I am today,
Yeah.
and it shaped me into the person that I am. So I'm not mad at it.
So who kind of like got you into playing basketball, and like when did you like start taking that more serious?
So I always grew up watching my oldest brother Trey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He played basketball, and I would always go to all his little games.
Yeah.
And you just want to be like your big brothers when you're young. Like,
yeah.
I was the only girl, so I'm just trying to do what they do, trying to keep up with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when I started to do it, and then I just fell in love with it. I've always loved sports, but basketball was definitely like kind of my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just love being a part of a team, being a part of something, and then just going out and hooping. It's just fun, and I just kind of stuck with it.
So when did you like realize like I think I can go to college and play basketball? When did that hit you? Or did you always kind of have that? Like you just always knew?
I always kind of not. I wouldn't say always because there was some. Starting off, I was not the best. I'm not gonna lie, but definitely like I would say 8th grade.
Yeah.
No, before 8th grade, probably like 7th grade. Because at that point, like my parents were spending a lot of money for like AAU tournaments and things like that. So it's like if we're spending this money right now, like we're gonna make a return on our investment,
For real.
So and like I think even more than playing college basketball, I knew what basketball could do for me, even in the sense of like getting me through school and like that full ride. And that was something that like I wanted to do for my parents because I didn't want them to have to come out of pocket and do different things when they already had so much like their own things going on. So I saw that as an opportunity from God, and then to be blessed with like a talent and a gift, like what else am I going to use it for?
Honestly,
if you're given that, like
people sleep on like the ability of like what basketball can do for you, like in a college.
No, really,
like
that's huge.
People literally after college literally work for years until they're like 60 something, 70 before they pay off their student loans and stuff like that. And like you have the opportunity obviously to play in college and get your college paid for, which is a blessing for real.
It is.
That's a big deal. Can you also talk about your high school career? I know I saw you were a conference player of the year, district player of the year. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's so funny to talk about high school because I'm like, that's a crazy time, and it was like way back. It was. It wasn't even. I mean, it wasn't that long, but like I feel like that was like way back.
Yeah.
High school was fun. I mean, I think one of the biggest things about that time was just like how much fun it was. Like I don't think we were never thinking too much about the future, too much about past mistakes. Like you were really just in that moment. And I think that's what allowed me to have the type of career I had in high school.
Yeah, that's pretty. I think it's always good when you're having fun with it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just take it too serious at times and not have fun with it. You also talk about like your recruiting, why UT was your option. Like,
but the recruiting process is so weird. For one, I don't know, it's just weird, especially for me because I'm never the type to want to talk about myself or like get all hyped up that way. But I'm just like, okay, thank you now. But I had visited a couple of schools, and Toledo was actually one of the last ones that I visited. But it was something about how like the coaches and the players interacted with each other that I loved so much. And I've always been like such a firm believer that like home is not the place, it's the people. So I don't care if I'm going to any type of big school if the people are bad and I don't find those good connections, the place is bad, So and I've been crazy blessed just in the teammates that I found, like the sisters that I have now. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. So
I think that's the biggest thing.
Most
like
definitely.
Making these lifelong connections for real, like sisters, friends that become sisters, teammates that become sisters for lifelong connections. That's just amazing. Can you also talk about like your Achilles tear and how hard that was to come back from? Because I know for me, like watching the NBA, you always see these guys that go through these Achilles injuries, and it's like, oh my gosh, like are they ever gonna play basketball again? Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So as for my Achilles, this had to be like my last game of my senior year in high school.
Oh,
and it was perfect timing, And it's such a random injury. Like this is Achilles tear. Like that happens to 40-year-old men. Like like But I would rather that than an ACL, thank God. So I'm not complaining. But it was just like the timing of that was really, really crazy for me. The timing of this whole season of my life was kind of really crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I told you, like, this is probably when I had to depend on God the most.
Yeah, you did say that.
Which I didn't have to before necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, everything was kind of smooth sailing. So when I was hit with this, it was like, I mean, God was like, it's me or nothing. So then that's really where my like faith shifted. But yeah, it was like, so that hit me, right? I tore my Achilles at the best timing of my life. And then I also like lost my coach of like that I had grown up with my entire life. Had passed from cancer. Like and I was in my boot and everything. It was like my prom, like my senior night prom. When I figured out, we was like taking pictures with my friends. And my parents had kind of like were hiding my phone, whatever. And I just figured out, and that was just like a whole nother thing.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and then at the same time, my dad was going through some health issues and had to do a big surgery, and it was a lot of money. Like financially, it was like a lot of my family too. My mom had already been working like 3 jobs. It was just a lot, like at the time, you know. And then on top of that, to come to college, like to be starting college, and go to a place where like the one language like y'all all speak is basketball, and you can't even like participate in that. It was just a struggle.
Hard,
It was definitely hard, and I think that's why I appreciate so much growing up the way that I did.
Yeah.
And like having that faith background is because I knew it was something that I could fall back on.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of people out there who like you encounter things like that and you're down, like you're lost. Because like, what do you do? Like, especially when basketball is such a thing that so many people put their identities in.
Yeah, they
which,
do. Yeah.
Like that's hard. I feel like every athlete has to overcome that to some extent.
That's a big thing to overcome though. Because growing up, a lot of them, a lot of athletes in general, you judge yourself off your good games, bad games, or like recruiting and things like that instead of playing for God. When did you like start realizing, or did you always kind of know like there's something bigger than me?
I absolutely did not always know that. Actually, well, I will say something internally. I think always knew that.
Yeah.
I think like I was never one to be put in a box. Like I never wanted to be put in a box. And like being an African American woman growing up at a PWI, like basketball is all anybody saw. You know? So it was like, forget education. I don't know what you're doing there, what you're doing with that, the third, but like we about to go win this game, whatever. Or like everybody's talking about the game, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that was always something I kind of like fought with. Because I was like, I don't want to just be like their hooper or their star athlete. Like there's so much more to me than that. And I was like, I did youth church. I did like a whole bunch of different things. And it just like, I never wanted to be put in like that box. But at the same time, it's like, as an athlete, you're always seeking some type of validation and like find some type of worth in your performance.
Yeah.
And so like trying to detach from that was almost like finding different outlets to express like who I was.
Yeah.
So in like having like different sets of friends and also like different hobbies, like it just kind of like shows you like basketball is not everything, you know? And like that's not like also just growing in your identity in Christ and growing in my relationship with Christ, you kind of realize like, I mean, God's love is never dependent on what you do, like or anything you could do. It's just off of who you are. And I feel like that was kind of one of the biggest revelations I had to have. And still, it's like, it's almost like it's a continuous revelation I have to have. I feel like it'll be times where my mind slips after a bad game or something around that. But I just have to think and like kind of get out of that state.
I know a lot of easy way to like for that is like just knowing like you have to consistently like renew your mind.
Yeah.
Because like it's so easy to forget like what got you there or like forget like how he views you. It's so easy because it's so many distractions in the world. So it's like you're able to like just remind yourself daily like actually God views me better than that. Like I could play for God instead of having to worry about, oh, I had a bad game or oh, my shot wasn't falling today or oh, this and that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think that's a great way to like go about it
that
way. You know?
So can I ask you?
Yeah.
I just want to know like for on your part, like where did that come in for you? Like finding your identity in Christ versus like basketball because I know how tall you are. So I already know how people probably
view you and stuff. I think my identity like really came from just it honestly took a while because I really was like would beat myself up. Like it took me into almost maybe like my last like year of college, like when I really started knowing like, you know what, like I'm really worried about God and taking him more serious than I am about the games. Because I used to like go into certain games and I'd have a bad game and I would just like not want to talk to anybody. Like I'd go like home and literally not want to talk to anybody. It happens because it's just it's like you're just being human, you know what I mean? So it's like they're just normal human tendencies. You don't want to do bad as a human, you know what I mean? But when I started realizing like, you know what, like let me actually like just go out there and let loose and be confident in myself. Also just knowing like before the game, just praying like Lord, be there with me. And I like would like write on my shoes sometimes just some verses just to like keep me like going like. And it was honestly sometimes like even playing, I would begin like thoughts like just like thoughts of just telling myself like, man, maybe you're not as good like while playing sometimes. And it'll be like I have to remind myself like Philippians 4:13 is like one of my favorite verses. I had to remind myself like I can do all things through Christ. I can do all things through Christ. And like those thoughts would just go away and I could actually like, you know what, I could, and I might go and like get a bucket or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I could do this. And I was actually like, even in the bad games, I wouldn't really go home and be like too down anymore. I realized because it was like, you know, I'm not really out here playing to like, oh, I need to score this X amount of points or 20 points or 10 points or this and that. I was just like, you know what, let me just go out here, have fun, and just and pray about it and just play for God. And I think that really was when it really helped me. But it took me a while, honestly. Like I know a lot of people,
it's a daily thing. I
literally, like literally, it is. So I think that's what helped me is just prayer and just talking to myself with some of these verses, like Philippians 4:13, just knowing that like I can do all things. So that's when it happened for me, though.
I love that because I feel like even just how you were talking about like renewing your mind, like I feel like that is how you renew your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy, like the doubt, the insecurities, and the lies, like they'll come
It'll
quick.
creep in so
like,
fast.
Quick.
It waits for you. Like the devil is waiting for you to like just be vulnerable for 1 second and not be on top of it. And, all right, I'm gonna give her tell her she's not good. Or
like he'll take one thought and run with it.
Yeah, run with it, and like and that could like literally ruin your day. You know what I mean? Like, and it should never be that bad. You know what I mean? So I've been, and honestly, it's a constant thing too, though. Like, and like what we're talking about, constant renewal of our minds. Like, just knowing each day, like to renew our minds, tell ourselves good things that God has done for us. You know what I mean? So that's definitely a big thing. So I also want to ask, so when did you start? When did you learn Spanish? And like, what made you? Learn?
Why'd you get so excited when you asked that?
Because I've been trying to learn my languages like a little bit, so I know a few words in Spanish, and I know you're an expert in Spanish. So
I started learning Spanish. I would say I took my first class in Spanish like 8th grade.
Oh, okay.
And then from then on, I just kept taking it. You only needed like 2 years in high school, but I was like, well, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing it, and then I traveled to like a foreign country for like a service trip.
What country?
Peru.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
And that was like game changer because like you don't even know how much you know until you go out there and like all you can do like is speak it.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and I just I fell in love with being able to communicate with different types of people.
Yeah.
I just love conversation. I love, learning about new people, learning about new cultures. So that was just like a new little branch to be like, oh, I can talk to this many more new people. Like,
that what made you like want to major with it in college as well, like your love for
it. Yes, and the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do at all, but I was like, at least I could come out with another skill, like a great skill, because I was like, I could spend my entire college career studying something that I don't want to do at the end of all this. And I was very unsure. But I was like, I know I love Spanish, and I know I would love to be fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
So why not come out with a skill,
Yeah. So. It's pretty cool. Can you also talk about winning a MAC championship last year?
Yeah.
Regular season champion.
Yeah, that was hype. Yeah. That was really hype. And it was just one of those things because we had been on like a streak in the MAC, just winning different games, being undefeated for a minute there, and it was just kind of like us trying to stay hungry because we wanted so much more than just like the next win, and just holding ourselves to a different standard. And it was just really cool because the season before last
Yeah.
season
Uh-huh.
was like was
Not
awful.
not
Like we
it.
were
Yeah.
probably like, and we were still close, but like we were
Yeah.
like clawing for what we
Yeah.
could get, and then we were falling short like
Mhm.
here and there. But it's like the same people for the most part returned from that year
Oh,
to the
okay.
next year, so it was
Yeah.
cool because we were like, oh, we got this year. We're a
Yeah.
little older. We got
Uh-huh.
like our groove now, so we're just
So it's
going
like a
out.
full circle moment,
Yeah.
honestly. Like from that until the season and winning, it's like and we actually won it. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
For sure.
that's a really big deal. Also, talk about beating Michigan. That's a
Yeah.
huge win.
That one was hype. That one was hype.
Yeah.
That was one of those games like you just like we know our team and we have like
Yeah.
every bit of confidence that we can win.
Mhm.
And it's also one of those you step into and you're like, we have nothing to lose. Like
Yeah.
this is a ranked number 15 team.
Yeah.
Like we have nothing to lose, everything to gain. So we just kind of
Uh-huh.
went out there and gave it our all.
Yeah.
Went with the dove.
You know, what a good win. You guys got a lot of support from that win too. A lot
Yeah.
of people were sharing it and reposting it and stuff.
Mhm.
That was nice. Can you also talk about any goals you have for this season, either personal or team goals?
Um. Well, of course we want to, win the MAC, get to the
Yeah,
tournament,
yeah.
all that good jazz.
Uh-huh.
But personal, I would say, I mean, really just to live in the moment. I feel like that's my biggest thing kind of right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Is not to be too pressed about anything,
Mhm.
not to be too caught up in myself to, take
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
the moment and the joy of just being a part of this team right now
Yeah. Yeah.
and being in the season that God has placed me in right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, really just staying present.
Yeah. Staying present, let the moment happen, come for itself,
For
not you
sure.
trying to predict the moment,
Yeah.
which is a good way to live. I think you aren't with a lot of stress at all because if you
Mhm.
don't get those goals, it's like
Yeah.
you're still okay. You know what I
Right.
mean? Also, can you just talk about what are your like plans like after you're done playing basketball here at UT basketball? Like, do you want to
Yeah.
go pursue a career like overseas playing basketball professionally anywhere else, or do you want to do something else? Can you talk about that?
It's a great question, Julian, that I don't have the answer to, but no, I'm just kidding. Um, I I don't think I want to play overseas.
Yeah.
I think I've thought about that a lot in my career, and I'm just kind of like, I feel like when it's done, I'll be
Yeah.
done. I'll be ready.
Yeah.
Granted, I'll never be fully ready. I'll be at the rec playing pickup my entire life. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah.
when it's done, I'll be ready, and I'm just ready to explore. Travel,
Mhm.
kind of just see where God takes me.
Yeah.
You know.
That's nice. That's a nice way to look at it. That's good. Can you also? I like asking this question. It's can you talk about how hard college basketball is for the people who are clueless about college basketball? Like, how hard is it
Yeah.
for you to play college basketball?
Um, I think the best way I can say that is by like highlighting the main difference between high school and
Yeah.
AU, whatever, to college
College.
basketball
Yeah.
is like the commitment and dedication is probably two of the biggest things,
Mhm.
despite any circumstances, despite how you're feeling,
Yeah.
despite um, anything you got going on. Like it's a
Yeah.
persistent
Mhm.
commitment every single day to show up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like, you're not really allowed to have like a bad day,
Yeah.
per
That's
se,
true.
because you got a whole team counting on you,
Yep.
and if you're not right, the whole team running.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
that's
bigger than
different,
you.
most definitely.
Yeah.
Even just like having to adjust to like everybody. Most people coming to play D1 college ball, like we were all hoopers in high school. We were
Yeah.
all like
Yeah.
top of the top,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
got
true.
so much recognition. So just being able to come in and adjust your mindset
Mhm.
to like, I don't know, to being able to be confident in yourself despite necessarily other people's validation, your coach's
Yeah.
validation. Like you won't always have that.
Yeah.
Whereas like in AAU, it was a lot. You were a lot closer, probably not a lot closer, but like you grew up with your coaches.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
chose you for a
For a
reason, different
reason,
things, and of course
exactly.
these coaches do too. But
Yeah.
you have all these people ahead of you
Yeah.
in line, and so it's just coming in with the same fight despite the circumstances you have
Mm.
in the moment.
Good way to
I
look
feel
at
like
it.
that's the biggest thing. I think.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at that. And can you just break down like the day in the life of a college athlete?
Yeah, okay, let me think. What kind of day we going for? Like,
Just say the typical Friday. Say Friday.
okay, Friday.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, I can't
With
even think
school
of
and
it.
everything.
Okay. Um, so a typical Friday. All my classes are online, but I'm just
Oh,
gonna
okay.
say a lot of kids would have like morning class,
Yeah.
and then we would have weights, morning weights from about like 10:30 to 11:30. Then most times we'd probably go to like straight to film after that.
Yeah.
Have film for about 30 minutes, then go to practice, which the practice block is like 3 hours. Thank
Yeah.
God Coach Club doesn't really normally take the full time because three
Yeah.
hours in there would be a lot, but
Ooh.
about at least like maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
Too.
then
Yeah.
if we have a game coming up, we'll go back to film after that.
Hmm.
And then a lot of times, oh, this sounds awful. This just sounds like a whole lot, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. But
Yeah.
sometimes, not every time, but like you'll get like extra shooting in with your individual coach.
Yeah.
And yeah, then you just go have a fat meal after that
Yeah.
and
Call it
sit
a night.
down. Yeah.
No, that's nice, buddy. Also love to ask this question is how hard is it to be a Christian athlete in college, and what advice can you give an incoming freshman who's a believer going
Yeah.
to either be an athlete or just in general?
Um, it's definitely challenging. I
Yeah,
mean, this Christian walk is no joke,
no joke
and
at all.
I know
No
you
joke
know
at
it.
all.
Trying to consistently live out your faith,
Yeah,
especially surrounded by like so many diverse people with like
yeah,
different backgrounds,
yeah.
different belief systems, and
Hmm.
everything, which I love.
Yeah,
I would never want to be around just
yeah,
like-minded people, but I think that is a challenging part because you are who you surround yourself with.
yeah,
Bad company
yeah,
corrupts.
yeah. Good
You know,
character.
good character, something like that. But
Yeah,
so just kind of being able to like build your faith
yeah. Hmm.
when there's not necessarily those people around you that are
Yeah,
kind of like sowing that into you, or
yeah,
like I don't know, like that you can feed off of their faith real
yeah.
quick.
I know what you mean.
But like it's almost like, and honestly, that's probably one of the main things that made me grow in the way that I did, though,
Yeah,
because I had come up, around family, around friends, and people where I could just, let me just, I'm just,
yeah,
feed off of there, and
exactly.
like it was like iron sharpening iron, and then
Yeah.
coming here, it was like I didn't necessarily have that at first,
Hmm.
so it was kind of like, all right, it's me and you, God, like you about to sharpen me, or
Or
or I'm just
yeah,
about to, kind of just chill with the team, do whatever
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
else is doing, and
yeah,
so that was challenging. I think the biggest piece of advice would be just to be unashamed in living out your faith and
yeah,
everything that makes you a Christian,
yeah,
and being so honest. Because I feel like, I mean, I look at this team and like me being here and like my scholarship and everything just as another way that God can speak to a different group of people,
yeah.
and like like God can speak to them through the way that I live my life.
Hmm.
But if I were to be ashamed or like just try
Yeah,
to want to fit in with the team or like everything
yeah,
else like
yeah.
that, I'm missing my mark,
Mm,
like I'm not walking in like my purpose, my calling for
yeah,
why I'm here like right now.
yeah,
And so I think that, and then I do think it is important to surround yourself with some community or
yeah.
find some type of people because
Uh-huh.
you can't do it by yourself. Like I
Right.
feel like the Christian faith, the Christian community, like is so important. Like
Yeah.
it's so hard to do alone. It
So
is so
hard.
hard.
Oh my gosh.
And I've had several times where it's like, I don't know, like I've been in several different rooms with all different types of people, and sometimes it
Yeah.
really is draining.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
if you're not filling yourself up.
Yeah.
So I would say finding community, being unashamed, and I guess this goes along with being unashamed, but just being
Yeah.
bold in your faith.
Yeah.
You know,
The
like I feel
boldness is
like we're
huge.
called out for a reason. We're the
Yeah.
salt for a reason.
Hmm.
We don't want to lose our flavor in trying to be something that we're not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The boldness is definitely huge. Definitely a place to grow in for sure. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
myself, honestly. And I think those are the things that you like. You just consistently growing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
over time and
most definitely.
things like that. It's not just gonna come over one day in your walk, but definitely think you should like try to challenge yourself to be better at each day. Um, Another question, a couple more questions I'll ask you before I do my quick hitters is how can you just explain and talk about like the highs and lows that come with basketball? Because people don't realize, and I always say this, people don't realize like there are some good days and then there's some bad
Yeah.
days, and like people don't really people don't see the bad days a lot.
Yeah.
There's people that are like watching from the outside in.
Yeah.
They go to a game or whatnot. They just always think it's just all good. It's all sunshine and rainbows. They don't see behind closed doors where you might have a bad practice or a bad game and you go home and I mean we talked about it a little bit earlier, but like you go home and you just are down. You know what I mean? But can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean the highs are high and the lows is so low, you
Oh
know,
my
like
gosh.
um I think of course the high moments are when you're winning, when you're having fun with your team, when you're getting the playing time that you want, like
Yeah.
all of those moments. And then the lows is like for me what I think a lot of the lows are mostly mental. Like confidence is such a huge part of the
So
game.
big. Oh my God.
And I don't even think I even understand how big of a part of the game it is
Yeah.
right now. Like it's such a huge part of the game. Like it can change the way you play completely. Just the way you think and approach every single game.
Literally.
And I think so many different factors we allow to affect our confidence and
we
self-confidence.
do. We do.
And like, I don't know, that mental game is just such a different,
Yeah.
like, it's such a bigger part of the game than I think.
Yeah, I remember like there's always this saying they say it's like I think the game is like 80 or 90% mental, 10% physical, something like that. And like and I used to always be like, well, what do you mean by that? Like you need to be physically strong to play, but like so I got older, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot mental because like if you're not confident out there, like you're not gonna be able to do much. Like and it's so hard to be confident because a lot of times like people don't even realize like a lot of coaches can take people's confidence away.
100%.
Like they can talk to you in certain ways that you just are not fond of, you know what I'm saying, hearing things and it could really like it could be detrimental to your like careers like sports wise because you start believing in certain things about yourself and it's like can I actually not shoot and then you start not shooting you're like maybe I can't shoot but it's like before that you were the best shooter ever and you knew in your head like I could shoot like what I could play I could do this I could do that so I think a lot of times like just trying to get your confidence like from the Lord honestly just seeing how he views you he you know he loves every single one of his people and he knows like he's made everybody as good as they should be, you know. So and just thinking like that, like the renewal of a mind kind of thing.
No,
about, like,
that really is it. I love that you said that because that's like something I'm even like right now I'm harping on so big. Because for me, like I feel like my confidence, I'm a confident person, but when it comes to the court, something about my confidence like fluctuates, you know, based on like the way my coaches view me or just the way I'm performing at the time. So like before every single game, I'm just, you know, got my eyes closed. I'm like, I'm the head, not the tail, above and not beneath. Like I can do all things through Christ. Like just feeding myself with these just so I can stay straight. Like
and honestly, like even with that, like sometimes you have to consistently do it. Like there's even sometimes you do it before and then it's like now I'm on the bench or now like right before the game and it's like I've already forgotten what I just said. Like
no, really.
So that's why it's like it's a constant renewal.
Constant.
Like I used to like when I was playing and those some games like I would come off the bench and like I would be like right before I got in just like positive just I think positive affirmation. Like just telling myself positive things and honestly things that the way the Lord actually views me. And then I would go in there like telling myself that as I'm going into the game and I would actually start playing a lot better than doing that. Like, I was like, wait, and I was doing that differently than what I was before. So it was like knowing that and telling yourself things like that actually does play a role. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh no, it doesn't really," but like it really does. Like if you actually try it,
no, really,
you'd be like, "Wow, like I'm actually doing a lot better because I'm telling myself I'm doing better and knowing God is viewing me a certain way and He views me and knows that He made me the way He made me. You know what I mean? He's proud of me. Like knowing that going into the game, you'll be doing a lot better. I think if you like try that out like right at the moment of you're even getting into the game. And I think that definitely could help.
That's the biggest thing because I feel like, I mean, you walk with a different type of swag when you remember like the authority that God has given you, like who you are, like in Christ.
Yeah, and it's so different. Easy to forget it. And it's crazy to say that because it's like He loves so much. He does so many miracles for us every single day, and like it's so easy for us to forget it in the moment. You know what I mean? So I think just knowing that though, like consistently telling yourself that definitely helps out a lot.
For sure.
Also, last question I'll give you before I start the quick hitters is, what is one thing the Lord has taught you this year?
This year.
Yeah, this year.
There's
2022
so
is almost
and this
over.
has been such a.
Yeah.
This feels like 2 years in one. Hold on.
I know, right? It's been a long year, to say the least.
Biggest thing. I think honestly, there's been several different things I feel like, but one of them I'll say is probably consistency.
Yeah.
I think all my life I've always been like a goal oriented person, somebody who's very ambitious, wants to like accomplish these things every single year. I'd probably say I'm gonna read my devotional every single day, things like that. But every single year in the past, like, okay, I've done it for like a certain amount of time, fall off, then get back. And it's hard, like, but I've just never been that consistent. But you always write down like your word for the year. So consistency was my word. And then it was kind of like, it's more than just wanting to be consistent. Like you have to create a plan to make it that way. Like you can't just wish it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be consistent. Let it happen. Like, like I had to make myself a plan, create it, so then I could like set myself up to be consistent.
Exactly.
And then in just putting him first, and like, because I think as a Christian, growing up a Christian, coming to the faith, whatever, like it's so easy to say, God is my number one, and like, yes, God first. Everybody puts it in their bios, everything like God first. But like, then when I look at my actions, I look at how my life is set up, and like, is God actually first, like over everything, over basketball, over family, over wealth, over all those different things? And it just kind of, I don't know, I feel like he called me to kind of rearrange some things so that I live out that word that I speak,
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably the biggest thing this
year. Yeah. Which is, can you give some advice on like how to be more consistent?
It's a battle.
It is a battle.
I feel like, it is definitely a daily battle, but I think it helps when you take it day by day.
Ooh.
And like you literally just focus on these next 24 hours. So like putting God first today, because all you have is today in all actuality, So if you live like that, and like in the present, and like every single day, like this is all I have, and like, I mean, if Jesus came tomorrow or in 24 hours, how am I gonna feel when I see that man? Like, am I gonna be like, "What's up? What's up?" Or am I gonna be like,
"For real,
hold on 1 second, like, just give me a couple seconds."
give me a minute.
So just taking it day by day and then creating that plan and make it easy for yourself. Like, early in the morning, you can wake up before you go to bed. Before you go to bed never works out for me. Like I can't, because I just feel like it gets to that point in time, I'm like so sleepy, something always comes up, or I'm watching a movie, let me finish it. No, it's gotta be early in the morning, or kind of like one of those first things I do, I guess. But and then I just feel like a lot about consistency is keeping your word to yourself, and I feel like I'm so quick to keep my word to other people, and then like I'm the first to go, So kind of like prioritizing myself too in a way, and being like, no, I need this time. Not having to say yes to everything, not having to be everywhere at once, because I'm not meant to be everywhere. But like, not having that fear of missing out, just being like, nah, like this is what I gotta do right now. So just kind of managing my time in that way.
Yeah, which is pretty good. That's a good way to. Because I definitely struggle some days with being consistent. It'd be like that. Like, so yeah, that's really good. Alrighty, I'm gonna start the quick hitters. How do you feel about BG? Okay. Who's your favorite athlete?
Favorite athlete? I love LeBron James. I always love LeBron James. Yeah.
Why do you like LeBron so
much? I mean, he's a dog on the court, but then I also just love his character and him, like the way he carries himself outside of basketball.
Like a
and I think
yeah.
I respect the double sides of
Yeah,
athletes.
yeah. Okay. Favorite verse in the Bible?
Um, mm, I would say. Okay, hold
I'll
on.
put you on the spot with
I
that
know,
one.
I
I
know,
know
I
it's hard to
know.
think.
Um,
First, you can say a book in the Bible.
book is hard too. Maybe
Yeah.
Romans. I like the do not be conformed to the world.
Yeah.
That one. But I also like um I'm just gonna say the one that I just been meditating on recently.
Yeah.
But when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I.
Oh,
I feel like that's a big one.
that is a big one.
Because anytime my mind starts going, I'm just like, all right, let
Yeah.
me recenter.
For real, that's huge. Favorite food?
Chinese.
Chinese?
Chinese food.
Okay, Chinese. Um, Favorite person in the Bible other than Jesus?
Maybe Peter. I
Peter?
think Peter had a different type of energy about him. Like I feel like Peter
Yeah.
was a little gangster on the low. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Peter
he
was a
was
savage
cool.
for sure. If you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Great question. Will Smith.
Will Smith.
That's
That's
my
my
favorite
favorite
actor.
actor. That's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's mine
That
too.
is my favorite actor.
That's
What a great
wild.
guy.
That's my favorite actor.
Okay. That's what I I actually would probably say Darius Daniels. I don't know if you know. He's a pastor, but I just think he's like so wise.
Okay.
And he's cool. He seems like an uncle type, like
Yeah,
everybody's big uncle.
yeah.
But I would say Darius Daniels, Will Smith, and let me get a female in there. I'm gonna just go with Gabrielle Union.
Gabrielle Union. Okay. Oh, Gabrielle Union.
She used to be my favorite actress.
Okay.
Not that I necessarily love the movies that she's in, but I just loved her. I don't know.
All right. Last question. What's one thing you wish people knew about female athletes that they
Um, about female athletes.
don't? You just think it's overlooked, maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess just the amount of work that we put in to kind of get the same recognition as the men's side of things, you know, because it's not like we're out here doing completely separate things, working less hard, putting less amount of time and effort and money in. So just kind of that, I guess.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you, Yanni,
No,
for
most
being on
definitely.
the show. I
For
appreciate
sure.
you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.